So your doctor just told you you have impingement syndrome and you're wondering, what is it? All right, everyone, this is Dr. Heather, and that's something I want to talk to you guys about because that is a misleading word. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of us have heard the word impingement syndrome and we're wondering, what is actually getting impinged in my shoulder? So let's kind of go over that a little bit. So the word impingement shoulder, or I should say the word impingement syndrome, simply means that the shoulder itself, the glenohumeral joint, is becoming a little bit more entrapped in that area. Nothing specifically is being impinged, meaning not a nerve or vascular area, but it's actually the way that that joint is trying to move in that area. Now, if you are somebody who does a lot of overhead activity, say you play tennis, maybe you are a lacrosse player, or maybe you're somebody who is a painter and you paint houses all day. Well, an impingement syndrome can set in due to the fact that your arm is stuck up overhead for long periods of time, and it actually becomes a little bit more fixated in that area. And then what happens is it kind of makes a clocking kind of sound when it's trying to come down and release itself from being stuck up in that joint. Now, an impingement syndrome is something that can be easily treated with good solid physical therapy techniques along with some really great soft tissue. Now, if you've seen some of my other videos regarding shoulder injuries, and you also know what I love about myofascial work, is that we would want to actually start really addressing the whole shoulder girdle. And what do I mean by that? Well, it's not just looking at the front part of the shoulder, but it's also taking a look at the scapular area. Because when we're dealing with the impingement syndrome of the shoulder, we're also addressing our rotator cuff muscles as well. Because the rotator cuff muscles attach themselves on the glenohumeral joint, we want to make sure that they are really creating more stability, because a lot of times impingement syndrome is associated with instability of the shoulder. So again, if you're someone who is suffering with impingement syndrome, if you're noticing that you're experiencing more pain, this is where you really want to start looking at a long-term treatment protocol. Now, this isn't something that is fixed immediately, doesn't necessarily require surgery unless there are some rotator cuff muscles that now are experiencing some tearing. If you are damaging the labrum to the inside of the capsule of that glenohumeral joint, maybe there's some more excess of tearing going on, or if you're noticing that you're developing kind of any spurring, lipping that's coming off the acromion. Now again, impingement syndrome is just a very uncomfortable, nagging discomfort in the shoulder, and again is more associated with overhead activity, which could also be linked a little bit more to some overuse of that joint surface. Now, like I said, it's a long-term protocol when we look at the treatment for impingement syndrome. Now, the first step, and if you know me by now, I'm going to answer with myofascial. So if we start to go ahead and really address our myofascial areas to the shoulder, we should start to notice some increased range of motion in the shoulder. Then from there, we would want to use specific strengthening exercises to help create stability in the shoulder. So this way that shoulder doesn't feel very unstable or it doesn't lock up on us. Now, what do I mean by myofascial work? Well, I mean addressing not just the pectoral area here in the front, but really specifically starting to look at our rotator cuff muscles that sit kind of more off the shoulder blade. So starting to look at the teres, starting to look at the supraspinatus, the infraspinatus, and even the subscapularis muscle. Because if you are somebody who is doing a lot of overhead action, that range of motion is made up of so much movement from our actual shoulder blade and then so much movement from the actual glenohumeral joint. So we want to do a combination of both. And then from there, we would want to work some strengthening exercises through all ranges of motion. So this way we start to create more stability and really strengthening those rotator cuff muscles a lot more, because those guys are the ones that are going to create that stability for that joint and help alleviate that discomfort. Now, for those of you that have maybe more of a chronic, impingement syndrome, you might be saying, hey, I've done all that, but I'm still not feeling any, relief or or noticing any kind of, deterioration or decrease in my pain symptoms. Well, this is where you might want to go visit your local chiropractor and have them actually adjust your lower cervical spine, your mid-back, your thoracic as well, and take a look at actually adjusting the shoulder girdle. So this is where you would want to work with somebody who is more sports oriented and has dealt with a significant amount of impingement syndrome. Now guys, again, this was just a brief overview of impingement syndrome. For more specific questions regarding the exercises and actual treatment protocol that you could put into place, drop some comments down below. But like I mentioned, the treatment protocol for impingement syndrome is much more long duration, because it does require a couple of steps to be put into place, and then you really want to take your time in allowing those muscles to really fire correctly so they create that stability that you need. Now, if you found this little video helpful on impingement syndrome, give it a like, and as always, please subscribe to the channel today. Again, this is Dr. Heather, and I'll see you in the next video.